Hi guys, today we are going to be going through a new topic, and that's Boolean values. Boolean values are essentially values in Python that return true or false statements, okay? It's actually not that complicated. Python has built-in Boolean operators. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but essentially if you type in numbers or calculations that require Boolean answers, Python automatically does it for you. So in this case, 10 is great. We are basically asking Python, is 10 greater than 9? Yeah, it's true. We can also say something like, is 10 equal to 9? False. It's not false. And if is 10 less than 9? That's false. Okay, so this is essentially a Boolean operator. Boolean operators, you can also add Boolean in the beginning, which you probably should, to if you want to define that this specifically is a Boolean value, but you don't necessarily have to. You don't necessarily have to. Okay, the thing about Booleans is that Booleans by default are true. Most strings or values or anything you type in Python is going to be automatically considered true. So like, okay, let's do some examples. So if I say something like if I say something like uh a equals hello, okay, b equals 15, okay, so print a, print b, and then I could even include it in the inside the print quotation marks. So rubbish. Okay, print bool. Okay, I could do this automatically. These values by Python, they're assumed they're true. Most values in Python, if they're boolean, they just assume true unless they're stated otherwise. So if I run these, you're gonna see everything. You're gonna see that these values. Oh, sorry, I forgot to write down bool a. So what you should see here is that they all show up as true. So if I run it again, we can see they're all true. By default, variables in Python are true. However, the question is what exactly is false in Python? So there are a couple things that are going to be false. Firstly, if you write bool false, this is going to be false. This anything that has false in it, obviously capital F, that's going to be instantly considered false. Okay, so so unless we say so, it's going to be false. Um, I mean the other way around. Bool none. This is also a false. This will also return a false value, false answer. Print bool 0. This will return a false value. Bool and finally, basically values that are boolean and have empty spaces, these values will always they're just going to return false. Okay, so something like this, there's nothing inside the quotation marks. The quote Everything inside the quotation marks is empty. That's going to be false. It's going to return a false value. You can also do the same thing with brackets. You can do the same thing with square brackets. If I just show you here, and you can do the same thing with curly brackets. Ooh. Okay, so if we run this in the main, we're going to see all of these values specifically return false values. Okay, so when you add these in a function, these are what's going to return false. These are going to intentionally give a false value. The thing about booleans is that we can use them in if and else statements, and that's actually where they're quite useful. So let's do an example. A equals 200, b equals 33. If b is greater than a, print uh sorry print uh uh bool correct. Okay, or we don't necessarily need to write bool, or we can say else print not sorry, not correct. So in this case, when we run it, it's b is not greater than a. Okay, so it's just gonna print not correct. But if we reverse it, it's gonna return true. It would. The reason it's returning true instead of correct is because I made this bool. I made the correct a bool function. If I suppose I remove this bool, okay, and I just want to see correct. Now when we run it, it's just gonna say correct. Okay, so that's really that. So now that we've covered that, there is also another slightly more complicated expression in which when you apply it, it will return a false value, and that's if you put a function and you put return 0 in the function. So here's an example. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so if we were to write down class in this situation, when we use the len function, which is often a function used for giving the total number of characters inside a code, and we put return 0, we get a false value. Okay, so we get a false value. That's just something to note, but we won't dive too much into that. So anyways, so generally speaking, it's very useful to use booleans in functions. So if you create another function, right, and this time we don't return 0, instead we return true. Okay, then whenever we do our function, and if we run it, sorry, okay, should have written print down, then we're gonna get a true. Okay, so because this is what our function does, it returns true. We can combine these functions with an if else statement. So suppose we say if my function, if our function exists, then it says yes. Okay, and else print no. Okay, so when we run this, okay, we get yes. So in this case, let's type in my function. Okay, so now that's that, just a last small thing, and that's basically the instance function. Okay, so what this function does is instance. This will be able to determine whether an object is of a certain data type. So what that means is, suppose if I write down x equals 200, and then I write down print is instant x int, I'm basically asking Python, is it the case that x is an integer value, and Python is going to return a boolean. So in this case, it's going to return is instance. Wait, what did I do wrong? Oh, I think I did too many brackets. Okay, so in this case, Python is going to return true. What did I do here? Too many brackets. That's why. Silly me. Okay, so in this case, Python is going to return a true because the x value is an integer. If I say something like is x bool, which it's not in this case, that's going to be false. So that's that essentially for booleans.